It begins with a mystery. A man named Enoch walked the earth thousands of years ago. He was not a king, not a warrior, and not a prophet in the usual sense. Yet, something about his life was so powerful, so strange, that the ancient texts say he never died. Instead, he was taken alive into the heavens. The book of Genesis in the Bible gives only a short line about Enoch. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Just like that. No death, no grave, no explanation. But outside the Bible, there is another book, an old, forbidden text that tells the full story. This is the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is one of the oldest known religious texts in the world. It's older than many books in the Bible. It was once well known among early Jews and even early Christians. In fact, some scholars believe Jesus himself may have known the Book of Enoch, or at least its ideas. For a time, this mysterious book was read, quoted, and respected. So why did it disappear? Why is it not in the Bible today? The answer lies in its content. The Book of Enoch doesn't just talk about good and evil, or about laws and worship. It talks about angels, beings from other realms, coming down to earth and changing human history. It talks about hidden knowledge, secret truths, and powerful forces that wanted to stay in the shadows. It names names. It reveals too much. The early church fathers, the leaders who helped decide what books would go into the Bible, were not comfortable with Enoch's story. Some thought it was too strange. Others feared it would give people the wrong ideas about heaven, angels, and the nature of God. But more than anything, it revealed a version of history and spirituality that was too dangerous to be accepted by mainstream religion. So it was banned, buried, forgotten, but not completely. For centuries, copies of the Book of Enoch survived in secret. In Ethiopia, it was preserved in the ancient language of Guizi and kept as part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's sacred texts. European scholars rediscovered it much later, in the 18th century, and what they found shocked them. Here was a book that talked about space, time, heaven, and divine justice in ways they had never seen before. It read like a blend of ancient prophecy and science fiction. But who was Enoch, really? According to tradition, Enoch was the great-grandfather of Noah, the man who built the Arkansas. But Enoch's story is not about a flood. It is about an awakening. He was said to be a scribe of righteousness, a man who pleased God so deeply that he was given visions of all that was, all that is, and all that would come. These visions were recorded in the Book of Enoch. They were not dreams. They were not poetry. They were reports, clear, detailed, and sometimes terrifying. The book tells us that Enoch was taken up by heavenly beings, what we might today call angels, or perhaps something more. He was given access to knowledge no human had ever received. He saw the layout of heaven. He witnessed the laws that govern stars, the winds, the planets. He saw the Watchers, angels who had broken divine laws. He learned of a great plan, a war in heaven, and a future judgment that would one day reach every soul on earth. What makes this book so powerful is not just the visions, but the fact that it speaks directly to the reader. It challenges us to wake up. It asks us to question what we know. It shows a world beyond the world, a system of spiritual truth hidden behind what we call reality. For a spiritual seeker, the Book of Enoch is not just a story. It is a key, and that's why it was forbidden. Not because it was evil, but because it was powerful, and dangerous to those who wanted to control the narrative of spiritual truth. If people started reading Enoch, they might start thinking for themselves. They might start questioning the world's religions. They might start seeking their own path to the divine. So it was removed, hidden, labeled as heresy or myth. But now it's returning, and spiritual seekers all around the world are rediscovering its pages. They are asking the same questions. Why was this book buried? What was so dangerous about it? And most of all, what truths does it still hold for us today? Because the Book of Enoch does not just belong to the past. It speaks to a deeper reality that still exists, just behind the veil. And as more people begin to awaken spiritually, the message of Enoch becomes more important than ever. His journey is just beginning, and in the next chapter, we will follow him, beyond earth, beyond time, into realms where very few humans have ever been. The story takes a powerful turn when Enoch is no longer just a man on earth, but a traveler of the skies, a visitor in realms most people can't even imagine. In the Book of Enoch, the moment he is taken from earth is not peaceful or quiet. It is sudden, awe-inspiring, and full of mystery. He describes being lifted by powerful beings, beings with shining faces and burning eyes. They were not like humans, and they were not entirely like angels from the Bible either. They were something more, something ancient, beings of light and power that operated under divine authority. These beings, referred to as holy watchers, do not speak to Enoch in riddles. Instead, they tell him the truth. They explain that he has been chosen for a special mission. He is to be shown the inner workings of the cosmos. He is to witness the invisible structure behind all things, the heavens, the stars, the winds, the elements, and even time itself. They say he will write it down and return to humanity with knowledge. This is not a dream. This is a journey. Enoch begins to rise. First, into the first heaven. There, he sees the spirits of the dead, those waiting for judgment. He sees angels keeping records, writing down the names and deeds of every soul on earth. Everything is being watched. Everything is being remembered. There are no secrets in the first heaven. Enoch realizes that even our thoughts are known. As he continues to ascend, each level of heaven becomes more complex, more dazzling, and more terrifying. In the second and third heavens, Enoch sees punishment. He sees what happens to fallen angels and corrupted souls, places of darkness, pain, and regret. But even here, he notices something strange. Justice is not based only on rules, but on deeper truths. The spirits here are not simply evil. They are twisted versions of what they were meant to be. Enoch starts to understand the cost of disobedience and the dangers of knowledge without wisdom. Then comes the fourth heaven, where the stars live. Not just balls of fire, but living entities, spiritual beings in the form of light. Each one sings a different song, a vibration that holds space and time in balance. Enoch sees angels moving the stars like chess pieces, each one guided by divine order. Time flows differently here. Past, present, and future are no longer separate. He understands how the stars affect life on Earth, not in terms of astrology, but in deeper ways, shaping destiny and energy. In the fifth heaven, Enoch sees the Grigori, the giants or fallen angels who did not follow God's law. They are chained in sorrow. They were once powerful beings, beautiful and wise, but they fell in love with the daughters of men. They gave away forbidden secrets. Now they are trapped, their eyes filled with sadness. Enoch is told that these are the beings who corrupted the earth with their pride. He is shown visions of how they taught mankind to make weapons, to use makeup, to control nature, to dominate others. They did not teach wisdom, they taught control. This is knowledge twisted by ego. But Enoch is not done. He is taken higher still, to the sixth and seventh heavens. Here, he sees the inner court of creation. He sees the archangels, each one a ruler of certain forces: light, wind, time, death, judgment, compassion. These beings are not just powerful, they are pure. Enoch can barely look at them. Their light is so strong. He feels small, yet completely seen. And then Enoch reaches the highest realm, the place where no human has ever stood. He stands before the throne of the Most High, but he cannot describe it fully. He says it is beyond words, a light brighter than all suns, a voice that is silent and thunder at once. Around the throne, fiery beings move in endless praise. Time stands still. There is no fear here, only a sense of perfect order. Here, Enoch is not judged. He is honored. The Most High calls him my scribe. He is told to write everything he has seen and share it with the righteous. He is told that many will not understand him, and some will try to silence him. But the book must be written for a future time when mankind is ready to see beyond the veil. Enoch is then shown visions of Earth's future. Wars, corruption, false prophets, and hidden rulers. But also a coming age of light, when the truth will rise again. He is told about the great flood, and how his great-grandson Noah will survive it. He is told that all these things are part of a great plan. Nothing is random. This journey changes Enoch forever. He has seen the architecture of creation. He has walked among angels. He has spoken to the eternal. And now, he must return, not to live an ordinary life, but to record everything he saw for those who are ready to listen. When Enoch returns to Earth, he is no longer just a man. He is a messenger, a spiritual traveler, a bridge between dimensions. And his message is clear. There is more to life than what we see. There are higher realms. There are laws beyond our world. And everything we do matters, not because of fear, but because of energy. We are part of a much bigger story. Enoch writes it all down in a book that would later be hidden, silenced, forbidden. But the words remained, waiting for us, waiting for the seekers, waiting for those who feel there is something more. And in the next chapter, we will see why the angels came down, why they risked everything, and what terrible consequences their actions caused, not just for them, but for all of humanity. After Enoch's journey through the heavens, what he is shown next becomes the core of the mystery, the story that truly made the Book of Enoch too dangerous to be kept in public hands. It is the story of the Watchers, a group of powerful angels who broke divine law, came down to earth, and changed the fate of humanity forever. In ancient times, the world was still young. Humanity was growing, learning slowly, guided gently by spiritual laws. But far above the earth, some of the angels who were appointed to watch over mankind began to feel something new: curiosity, desire, even envy. These angels were called the Watchers, and they were meant to observe, not interfere. But they looked down and saw the beauty of human women. They saw the wild, raw world, and they wanted more. The Book of Enoch tells us that 200 of these Watchers made a secret pact. They came together and swore an oath, binding themselves with a promise. They would all descend to earth and take wives from among the humans. They knew it was forbidden, but they did it anyway. Their leader was an angel named Semjaza, a being of great power and charisma. He feared that he alone would be blamed, so he made sure every angel who joined him took the same risk. Once the pact was made, there was no turning back. When the Watchers came to earth, everything changed. At first, it must have seemed like a miracle to the people. These shining beings brought knowledge, skills, and wonders never seen before. They taught men how to make weapons from metal: swords, knives, shields. They showed women how to use makeup, how to enchant with beauty. They gave people the secrets of astrology, magic, and signs in the sky. They taught how to control nature, call upon spirits, and change the world with hidden arts. But this knowledge came at a cost. With weapons came war. With beauty came pride. With magic came corruption. Humanity began to lose its innocence. The earth grew violent, chaotic, and full of suffering. The balance was broken. Worse still, the children of the Watchers and human women were not normal. They were giants, called the Nephilim. These beings were huge, strong, and unholy. They had the power of angels, but the hearts of men. They had no limits, no sense of right or wrong. They began to rule over humans with cruelty, treating them like insects. They ate their food, destroyed their homes, and eventually, even turned to eating human flesh. The world had never seen such terror. The cries of humanity reached heaven. The Book of Enoch says that the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Uriel, and Gabriel, looked down and saw what had happened. They were horrified. They went before the Most High and said, "Look what the Watchers have done. Look at their offspring. The earth is soaked in blood." The people cry out. God responded not with rage, but with justice. He gave the archangels orders to restore balance. Raphael was told to bind Azazel, another powerful Watcher who had taught the people how to make weapons, and cast him into darkness, in a pit deep in the desert, covered with jagged stones. He would remain there until the day of judgment. Gabriel was told to destroy the Nephilim, to set them against each other in a great war until they all perished. Michael was ordered to bind Semjaza and the other Watchers, chaining them under the hills of the earth, where they would remain for 70 generations, watching as mankind struggled with the legacy they had left behind. And Uriel, he was sent to warn Noah, because the earth had become so corrupted that it could no longer survive. A great flood was coming, a flood that would wash away the sins of the world and give humanity a second chance. But before the flood, before the cleansing, Enoch was told to speak to the Watchers. Imagine this moment. Enoch, a man, not a god, stands before the fallen angels, now chained and broken, and delivers a message from heaven. They beg him to speak for them. They ask for forgiveness. They write a letter, asking Enoch to bring it before the Most High. But the answer that comes back is devastating. You will have no peace. You were once eternal, but now you shall not return to heaven. Your judgment is set. Your children will die, and you will remain in darkness. Enoch describes their reaction. The mighty Watchers, once full of pride and power, now weep. Their wings tremble. Their eyes pour tears like rivers. They had tried to become gods, and now they were lower than men. Their legacy would be one of fear. But their story is not just a tale of punishment. It is a warning. The Book of Enoch reveals that forbidden knowledge, truths that are given without spiritual wisdom, can destroy more than they heal. The Watchers gave humans secrets meant for angels. They gave tools without teaching responsibility, and the results were disaster. For spiritual seekers today, this message is clear. Not all knowledge is good. Not all light comes from the divine. Some teachings flatter the ego, not the soul. Some truths are traps in disguise. And yet, Enoch was trusted with this story. He was trusted to tell the truth, not to hide it. That's why his book exists, not to glorify angels or giants, but to remind us that real power comes with humility. That spiritual wisdom must be earned, not stolen. That light without love becomes a weapon. What Enoch saw was only the beginning. He would also be shown the future, the end of days, the great judgment, and the return of balance. And in the next chapter, we will step into the visions that terrified even the angels. The visions of fire, of trials, and of a time to come. A time that may be now. As Enoch returns from his journey through the heavens, carrying the weight of divine knowledge and the sorrow of the fallen angels, he begins to receive visions, clear, powerful images of what is yet to come. These are not just distant warnings or vague dreams. These are prophecies, detailed, urgent, and terrifying. They speak of fire, of chaos, of an end that will reach every corner of the earth. But within the fire, there is also a promise that after judgment, peace and purity will rise again. The Book of Enoch devotes a large portion to what we would today call apocalyptic visions. These are not just stories of destruction. They are blueprints of transformation. Enoch is shown a time when the earth will grow sick, when kings and rulers will become greedy, when the land itself will cry out from bloodshed, when truth will be rare and lies will be dressed as wisdom. Does this sound familiar? Enoch sees a future where people will follow false teachers. These leaders will speak of light but act in darkness. They will twist the teachings of the divine to serve their own power. They will build temples, but their hearts will be cold. They will claim to speak for God, but their actions will betray them. Enoch says, "Woe to those who build sin into their foundations. Woe to those who use gold to cover evil." These are not just ancient words. They feel as though they were written for our world today. But Enoch's vision goes deeper. He is shown a coming judgment day, not just for individuals, but for entire nations, systems, and powers. A time when the divine court will be opened, when books will be read aloud, books that contain every action, every thought, every choice ever made. Enoch sees angels standing before a massive throne, reading these records. The righteous shine like stars. The wicked tremble like leaves in the wind. Then comes the fire. Enoch speaks of rivers of fire flowing across the earth. Not just physical flames, but spiritual fire, cleansing energy that burns away falsehood, pride, and darkness. This is not punishment for the sake of pain. It is correction, a healing that feels like destruction, like a surgeon's knife that cuts to save, not to hurt. The watchers who fell, the giants who ruled, the kings who oppressed, all face this fire. But so do ordinary people. Every soul must walk through truth. There are no masks in this judgment, no excuses, only clarity. But Enoch also sees something else, hope. Amid the fire, there are those who are lifted up. He calls them the chosen ones, the righteous, the seekers. These are not perfect people. They are not powerful or rich. They are the ones who love truth, who helped others even in silence, who sought the divine even when the world mocked them. They are protected, guided by light. They are not destroyed by the fire. They are purified by it. One of the most powerful parts of Enoch's prophecy is the vision of the Son of Man. This mysterious figure appears in the later sections of the book. He is radiant, full of wisdom, and sits next to the Most High. He is the one who will lead the final judgment. Many believe this is a prophecy of the Messiah, what Christians later understood as Jesus. But even outside of religion, this figure represents a higher consciousness, a bridge between heaven and earth. Enoch says the Son of Man will reveal hidden truths. He will expose the lies of the powerful and bring justice to the innocent. He will speak not only to one nation or people, but to the whole world. His words will divide, but also unite. They will shake the proud and comfort the humble. Then comes the great separation. In his vision, Enoch sees two paths. One leads to eternal light, peace, and connection with the divine. The other leads to emptiness, a state of being cut off from love, from truth, from life itself. This is not a place of torture, but of deep regret. The souls who go there are not pushed. They simply cannot stand the light. They chose lies for so long that truth becomes unbearable. Enoch is shown the future of Earth, a time when the old systems will collapse, when the Earth itself will be renewed. Mountains will flatten, rivers will change course, stars will fall, and time will bend. But after the chaos, a new world will rise, a world where justice flows like water, and every soul is seen, heard, and valued. These prophecies are not given to scare. They are given to prepare. Enoch tells us that these visions are for a distant generation, a time when people will start to feel that something is wrong, when technology grows, but wisdom fades, when knowledge increases, but love disappears, when the earth groans, and people begin to seek answers again. He says, "These words are not for my time. They are for the future, for the last generation." And here we are. The world Enoch saw is not just coming, it's already here. We see corruption. We see the fall of truth. We see nature fighting back. We see people awakening. Slowly, painfully, but clearly. This is why the Book of Enoch matters. Because it doesn't just tell a story. It speaks to the human soul in times of darkness. It calls us to remember who we are, to wake up, to prepare, not by fear, but by love, by truth, by living in alignment with the divine. And yet, Enoch's book was banned, erased, hidden from the public, because these messages are powerful. And power always frightens those who want control. But the book survived for a reason, and those who are meant to read it will find it. In the next key point, we will look at something even more personal. Enoch does not only speak of fire and angels. He also reveals deep spiritual codes, hidden truths meant only for those with eyes to see. A sacred message for the seekers of light, for those who feel the call of something higher, and for the ones who refuse to sleep in a sleeping world. The Book of Enoch is not only a record of what was, or a prophecy of what's to come. It is also a spiritual guidebook, written in symbols and layers, for those who are ready to look beyond the surface. While much of the world rejected this book for being too strange, too mystical, or too dangerous, there is a reason it survived underground for so long. Because within its pages lies a message, not for everyone, but for those who are seeking something deeper. Enoch calls them the righteous, the elect, the wise. But in truth, he is speaking to the awakened ones. This is where the book becomes personal. It no longer just tells stories about angels or giants. It begins to speak directly to the reader. It says again and again that this book was not written for the people of Enoch's time. It was written for the future, for a time when truth would be hard to find, for people who would feel like strangers in the world, for souls who feel there's more to life, but don't know where to look. Enoch describes a time when spiritual blindness would cover the earth. People would chase after knowledge, but not wisdom. They would fill their minds, but empty their hearts. They would praise the sky, but ignore the spirit. This is the world of illusions, and Enoch says the only way out is through awakening. But awakening doesn't come through loud voices or flashy miracles. It comes through stillness, through listening, through remembering who you are. Throughout the book, Enoch drops spiritual codes, simple sentences that hold great meaning. He speaks about walking in righteousness, not as a religion, but as a path of alignment. He warns against pride, not just in action, but in thought. He says that the eyes are the windows of the soul, and that what you look at, what you focus on, begins to shape you. He reminds us that every action, even the quiet ones, send ripples through the heavens. One of the most powerful themes in the Book of Enoch is the idea of the watchers. Not just the fallen angels, but the true watchers. Those on earth who observe, who listen, who stay aware when the world is asleep. These are the spiritualists, the seekers, the silent ones who carry light in the dark. Enoch says their names are written in heaven, that their path is known, even when no one else sees it, that they are never alone. He even describes a special book, different from the Book of Enoch itself, a heavenly record where the deeds of the righteous are written, not to punish or reward, but to honor, to witness. Enoch says this is how the universe works. Everything is vibration, and every soul has its tone. When you live in truth, your tone harmonizes with the divine. You become part of the great song of creation. And here lies the wisdom so many missed. The Book of Enoch is not about fear. It is not about punishment. It is about remembering. Remembering that you are not just flesh and blood. That your soul is ancient, connected, eternal. That this life is a test, but not a cruel one. It is a lesson in love, in balance, in alignment. Enoch describes dreams and visions, tools of the spiritualist. He says the divine speaks not just in words, but in symbols, in signs, in synchronicities, a feather on the ground, a strange feeling in your chest, a voice that whispers in the quiet. For those who are awake, these are not coincidences. They are messages, reminders, clues. He also warns the seekers, the path is not always easy. You will be misunderstood, You may be mocked. The world will tell you to stop, to sleep, to forget. But the light inside you is stronger than their noise. Enoch says, "The righteous shall shine like the stars, and their voice will echo through the generations." You may feel alone, but you are part of a spiritual family, a network of souls scattered across the world, each carrying a piece of the puzzle. And this is why the book was hidden, because it doesn't serve a system. It doesn't tell you to obey blindly. It doesn't keep you in fear. It calls you to rise, to question, to connect directly with the divine. You don't need a middleman. You don't need approval. You are already chosen by your own hunger for truth. The Book of Enoch also speaks of light, pure light, not the false kind that flatters the ego, but the sacred kind that humbles the soul. It says the light is always there, but most people walk with their eyes closed. They have covered their spirit with layers of noise, distraction, and lies. But when you start to see again, even a little, the light will guide you, one step at a time. He tells us not to fear the future. That yes, hard times are coming. Yes, systems will fall. But what is real will remain. And those who walk in alignment will be guided. Not by fear, but by trust. Not by rules, but by love. And most of all, Enoch gives us this truth. That the divine does not abandon its children. That no matter how dark the world becomes, the light never leaves. That even when angels fall and chaos reigns, there is always a way home. You may not be perfect. You may not have all the answers. But if you are seeking truth, if you are choosing love, if you are willing to walk the path even when it's hard, you are already doing the work. And the Book of Enoch was written for you. In the final key point, we will bring it all together. We'll look at why this book is returning now, why so many people are waking up to its message, and what this means for the future of spirituality. The forbidden book is no longer hidden, and it's time to understand why. We have followed Enoch's path through the heavens. We have seen the fall of the Watchers, the corruption of the earth, the great judgment, and the hidden wisdom meant only for the awakened ones. Now, as we come to the end of this journey, we are left with one powerful question. Why is the Book of Enoch reappearing now? Why are so many people across the world being drawn to it in our time? For centuries, this book was forgotten by most. It was not taught in churches. It was not printed in religious Bibles. It was labeled as myth, ignored by scholars, and kept away from the public. But now something is changing. Spiritual seekers, researchers, and truth lovers are digging it up, reading it, sharing it, and feeling like they've discovered a piece of themselves hidden in its pages. This is not an accident. The Book of Enoch says again and again that its words were written for a future generation. A generation that would live in a world full of confusion. A time when many would walk around awake on the outside, but asleep on the inside. A time when people would feel that something is wrong with the world, but not know what it is. Enoch wrote for us. Look around today. The world is filled with noise. We're surrounded by technology, information, and constant stimulation. We have more knowledge than ever, but less wisdom. We have more voices than ever, but less truth. We can connect across the globe, but people feel more alone than ever. This is the age Enoch saw. He wrote of a generation that would be caught between two worlds, the world of illusion and the world of truth. A time when spiritual people would begin to wake up, slowly, painfully, but clearly. When people would no longer be satisfied with shallow answers or empty traditions. When they would seek the source, the real source. And that is why this book matters now. Because Enoch doesn't just describe angels and prophecies. He describes the path of awakening. He speaks to the one who feels out of place. To the one who looks at the world and wonders, why do things feel so fake? To the one who feels called to something higher, even if they can't explain why. He gives validation. He gives direction. And most of all, he gives confirmation that you are not crazy. That your hunger for truth is real. That your discomfort with this world is a sign, not a weakness, but a strength. Right now, more people are questioning than ever before. Questioning religion. Questioning politics. Questioning the system. They're not trying to rebel. They're trying to return. Return to something pure. Something sacred. Something real. That's what Enoch offers. And what's more, the wisdom in his book matches what spiritual teachers have been saying for centuries. Zen monks, yogis, shamans, mystics, they all speak of higher realms, hidden truths, cosmic balance, and the illusion of ego. Enoch said it too, long before them, in his own way. This is not about one religion. It is about universal truth. The Book of Enoch is also helping bridge the gap between science and spirituality. Some of his descriptions of stars as living beings, of energy that flows in patterns, of time being nonlinear, sound like modern quantum physics. His visions of heavenly realms line up with what near-death experiencers report today. His warnings about false knowledge and spiritual pride mirror modern psychological truths. And perhaps the most important reason this book is rising again is because it reminds us that our time is not just about survival. It is about awakening. We are not here just to pay bills, chase success, or follow trends. We are here to remember who we are, to reconnect with the divine, to live with intention. Enoch calls us back to that path, not with force, but with truth. He also reminds us of spiritual responsibility, that what we do matters, that every thought, every choice sends energy into the world. That awakening is not just a personal journey. It's a gift to the whole of creation. When you wake up, others feel it. When you walk in truth, you create a path for others. This is why spiritual people must know the Book of Enoch, because it holds a mirror to the soul. It cuts through the illusions. It shows us where we come from and where we're going. And now, more than ever, we need that vision. The systems of the world are shaking. Old beliefs are crumbling. But something new is rising. A new kind of spiritual human, grounded, open, loving, and awake. Not perfect, but present. Not loud, but clear. The Book of Enoch is not just an ancient text. It is a message from the past, written in the language of the soul, meant for this very moment in history. It calls out to the seekers, the dreamers, the wounded, the wise. It calls out to you. You are not here by chance. You were drawn to this story for a reason. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Will you ignore it like the world did for centuries? Or will you open your eyes, open your heart, and begin the journey Enoch once walked? The book was forbidden, but now it is found. The truth was hidden, but now it is returning. And the time is now.